All right, hello everybody. What I'm going to cover today, or in this video, is going to be the diverging lens. As a reminder, the diverging lens has this shape in which it's thinner in the center and thicker on the outside edges of this lens. So what I'm going to do is show you how would you draw a ray diagram in this case. So we're still going to talk about the same pieces of the puzzle. You still have the principal axis that you care about. You're still talking about the focal points, in this case prime on the virtual side, right? So over here is our virtual side, and on the opposite side is the real side with the focal points, labeled as F and 2F here. So as before, we'll talk about starting from the top of the object. The object is this arrow that I've put at this particular point, but remember, this lens operates slightly differently, so I'm going to talk about how we're going to create this image. You can think about that last example for the converging lens, how that operates. This operates very similarly. So again, the first step that you're going to do is you will draw the line parallel to the principal axis. So that's exactly the same. Nothing has changed in that case. So I'm going to draw right here from the top of the object to the center of the lens will be parallel to the principal axis. That's exactly the same. Okay. From there, remember, however, that this lens is called diverging, meaning that the light, instead of it going converging to the central point or the principal axis, it's going to bend away from that. Okay, so from the center of the lens, what we're going to do is you're going to create a line. I'm going to call it through F prime, and you'll see what I mean in just a second. So we're going to put the line through F prime. So I'm going to set up my little setup here so that I have one part of my straight edge through F prime and the other part at the center of the lens. This is kind of the tricky part, right? So as I hold that as best as I can, I'm going to create this line continuing on into the real side. Okay? So that's kind of step one. Same as before, right? So then step two is also the same as before. In this case, we are going to take it from the top of the object. It will move through the central line. And then as we continue on from the center of the lens, it just continues in a straight line. Okay? All right, so let's take a look at what that looks like as I draw it. So here again, starting at the top of the object, going through the center of this lens, I'm going to draw my line and let it just continue for a little while. Yet again, however, we see that these two lines don't intersect on the real side, which means we have to do that dot back that we did for that last example of the convex lens. So what we'll do here is I'm just going to go back to the line I just drew, and I'm going to take my little dot back just to make sure I'm good to go on that, in case I need it. We may not need it. We might be able to connect before then, but I've got it in case I need it. I will do the same thing for the original line that I drew from parallel to the principal axis. So let's take a look at that. And look, I think this is where we're going to connect. So let's dot back from the center of the lens, going through. Notice important, again, F prime. That's the important thing that we want to care about. And you might notice that, look, I didn't need to dot back from the central line. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and erase that. The only one I really needed to dot back from was from the parallel to principal axis and then through the F prime line. Okay? So let's look at what kind of image I create, because recall, the image is always made where the intersection occurs. So the intersection here occurs right there between the object and the lens, right? So as I draw that, I'm going to show my arrow here, and this is my image. Now, fun fact, for every single diverging lens, no matter how far back you put this object, you are always going to create this type of image. So let's talk about the qualities of this image. It is existing on the virtual side. It is also the same direction as it started. It is still upright. It has not been inverted. And lastly, if we compare the size to the object, it is reduced. It has been shortened. It is smaller. And what you need to know is that every single image you create with this diverging lens will create the same three things. It'll be a virtual image, it will be upright. However, it will also be smaller than the original object. So it doesn't matter how far back you draw it. I know that on the sheet we have this dot way over here. You can try that too on your own and see what you see. But again, you're going to get that smaller image that's reduced. It'll be upright and also virtual. If you have any questions, send me an email. Thanks, guys.